shared with us earlier. So basically, we're going to be sharing with us about government support for natural therapeutics for African health problems and the different efforts from the government of Uganda. But I just want us to recall a few things that the Honorable Minister gave us. One of the last things that he said is, where is the money, right? And I saw a time right here, I was told I have about 20 minutes, just to be sure. The last question the Honorable Minister asked us is, where is the money? That is sort of the ideology that we have. And we are Pan-Africanists, that's one thing for sure, and we're looking at Africa as a whole. So at whatever thing we are doing at science, technology, and innovation, we are asking a fundamental question, that is, where is the money? But looking into the things that we have today, that is enhancing the contribution of ethical natural products research to industrial development and One Health. Now, it's very important that as we are doing the research, we are doing research in an ethical manner. But also, it should also be that we should also forget the unethical bits. That's why Honorable Minister said it's actually unethical for us not to question the products that people are using, natural therapeutics, and we just dismiss it. It's also unethical because it's helping a wide range of communities. We have seen Dr. Anima present to us about the traditional healers who are helping very many communities with different natural therapeutics. So it becomes unethical if we just dismiss it. The role of science is for us to really question everything that we do. And then the other one is, how do we ensure, and this is going to be a lot of technical, how do we ensure that while we are doing the research, the communities where we are getting this knowledge from also benefits? Most of the time we realize, Doctor, please remind me. Yes, you realize that the different products that you're sharing with us, some of these products are really used by the community. So the question is, if we develop these into a product, and this knowledge we have obtained it from indigenous scientists, not herbalists, how do we ensure that the community where we have obtained these products from also benefits? And as Uganda, we have taken this very intentionally. We are working with our URSP, that is Uganda Registration Superior, to ensure that we develop a framework of ensuring that the traditional healers, the indigenous scientists, or the communities where we get this knowledge from also benefit from it, so that we are doing our natural therapeutics research ethically. But before, I just want to give us a hint of what STA is. Why do we need STA? I know now we have appreciated why we need STA. And you will see right here in my shot that we have making Uganda the best as our slogan. But now, because we are Pan-Africanists, we are saying making Africa the best. And given that we have Europe, we say making planet Earth the best for making progress. So basically, our Honorable Minister shared with us about the pathogen economy. And for us, we deal with everything around making, selling, and use of goods and services related to prevention, control, and treatment of damage to pathogens. We are very intentional that we are not calling this the pharmaceutical sector, we are calling it the pathogen economy. That's why Honorable Minister said that where is the money? We are looking at this as an economy. And that's why our bureau or our sector is called the pathogen economy, because there is a monitoring. We realize that behind the pathogens, there is an entire economy around it. And that's our mandate, so I will not go into so much of this. But our priority value chains, or our priorities, things that we do are everything around vaccines development, diagnostics, therapeutics, consumables, laboratory equipment, and emerging technologies, including AI that we have now. And particularly for this presentation, we're going to focus mostly on natural therapeutics. So what are the different efforts that the Ugandan government has been making? So one of the things we're trying to do is to build what we call end-to-end. End-to-end, what I mean is achieve the industrial development, we must ensure that our products are validated. Most of the time, why the medical doctors are not very comfortable with prescribing some of our things is because they believe there is no evidence that we have generated. And as a country, and as Africans, we are strategically saying we need to build end-to-end capacity to be able to validate these products. So we have built capacity around how do we get a traditional healer who has the indigenous knowledge, link him up to a professor like her to ensure what does this particular medicinal plant contain. So that's the chemical analysis. And then we move from that. How do we validate this? We have what called vitro studies that we do, and then animal studies. And then later, if you're done with animal studies, then you should get into the clinical trials. And as you will see along the way, we have actually been able to do clinical trials for natural therapeutics. And after you have done that, that's not the end of the story. You actually now need to manufacture this. And that's an entire ballgame. And the mistake that we make in industrial development is we want to be able to be the same person who is developing this in the lab, wants to be the marketeer, wants to be the one validating, wants to be the one manufacturing, wants to be the one distributing, and you realize that each and every one of these requires a skill set that one person may not necessarily have. So as a country, we have strategically developed end-to-end capacity to ensure that we are able to do exactly that. So you may wonder, why are we particularly focused on natural therapeutics, as many of us? And that's why we have NAPRECCA. We all know that Uganda and Africa has a rich biodiversity of these different natural therapeutics. And 70% of the populations in Africa and Uganda actually utilize these natural therapeutics, even up to today. And COVID-19 revealed a lot. The famous COVID-X, if you're Uganda, most of us have utilized this product, which is actually a natural therapeutic. And strategically, our principal, our president, has strategic guidance in relation to natural therapeutics. He foresaw that we needed to optimize our natural therapeutics. And he also understood that there are challenges that come along with what they call trust. If you have a traditional healer somewhere, for this person to be able to disclose to you the secrets that this product, you take it this way, or you need to add this other ingredient for it actually to work, you must demonstrate that there's a little bit of trust. So most of our people who are involved in the validation of this product, they sign non-disclosure agreements where they sign contracts also with this indigenous scientists so that they are protected and their knowledge is also protected. And now, Honorable Minister hinted earlier a little bit about how do you mold a medical doctor who has not been prescribing a natural therapeutic, to mold this person to support you to validate some of these products. So this took this was a very hard task. And partly it also involved up to the level of policy changes. That's why we now can comfortably prescribe natural therapeutics, because we had a change in the policy in our country. I'm wondering what happens in Kenya, in Zimbabwe, in Nigeria, whether you also take this strategic move. Remember when at a certain time we're colonized, you recall that we're sort of locked in. We're supposed to abide by the regulations that we had stipulated. But as a country and as Africa, we need to think a little bit different. The earlier professor who gave an address told us that the part of the problem is we do not necessarily believe even in our product. Some of us, you find a medical doctor that doesn't prescribe this. And how we solve that is by validating our products. So I know some of us might be wondering, there is actually a fundamental difference between traditional medicine or traditional products and natural therapeutics. And most of the medicines that we actually have today comes from natural therapeutics. The Coartem, if you ever follow the sick of malaria, this actually comes from natural therapeutics. So here we just try to demonstrate what are the fundamental And one of the core in this is, unlike in the traditional medicine where somebody tells you go and pick this at midnight and what, with natural therapeutics we try a little bit to go further and explain the reasons why. Honorable Minister again earlier referred to us and saying that there are certain okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So just to take us again, this is the end-to-end capacity that we're talking about that we are developing. So here you can see, we normally have we call this wheel and spoke. You will see that we have mapped out our ecosystem players across. We have those involved in marketing, manufacturing, in policy, and even those who are involved in validation. And we have key players across all these different value chains, or across these different sectors, including in civil, because now we have bioinformatics. Before you go and even try out a particular knowledge, you can actually demonstrate this in civil. Now, these are the different projects that we actually currently funding, and each you can see that we have linkages. These are across the different value chains, vaccines, diagnostic, therapeutics, among others. But each of these we have mapped out to see that you do not just end up in the lab. Our colleague there earlier presented his findings. We don't want it to stop at that. Coming to the conference, we present, no, we think that we should move this further and see, okay, what can we do after you have done that? Can we take this to in vitro studies? Can we take this now to animal studies? And can we do clinical trials? This is a natural therapeutics center. About 2 years ago, it was like this. Now we are fully constructed. This is day by farm. Now, this is one of the biggest manufacturing facilities that we're going to have in Africa. If you have a chance, you can just pass by there naturally. And this is our clinical trials, natural clinical trials platform, and we are planning to have the first Africa clinical trials for natural therapeutics against the box. We held a conference recently, and our first clinical trial that we did, we demonstrated that we could actually cut the cost of doing a clinical trial from about 20 billion USD to about just 1.6, actually about 20 times cheaper when we strategically designed our clinical trials. And we have actually disseminated results already from natural therapeutics clinical trials, and our honorable minister right there. We had an engagement with Africa CDC just about a month ago, and we're looking at natural therapeutics for mpox. And that led us into commitments. So one of the commitments we have as a country, the conference proposed that given the capacity that we have developed as a country, that Uganda becomes a center for natural therapeutics validation. And for this time, our honorable minister that she has left, but she committed to a 2 years funding, because we do not have funding currently, but the Ugandan government is committed to provide funding for up to 2 years to set this up, as we are having discussions with Africa CDC to identify a funding source. We held an mpox engagement with different African countries, fully funded by the government of Uganda. This is our manufacturing capacity that we have shown. Now, this is an artistic impression of the biosciences park. So what are we doing here? We realize that once you have demonstrated that Pilosa can be able to help you get a product that can relieve pain, you need to rapidly manufacture this, right? So we have this that's going to have end-to-end. We have R&D facilities, but we're not stopping there. We're actually going to have botanical gardens where we intentionally grow these different natural therapeutics, because we know that in order for you to meet the demand, you must have where you're going to get this. So as a country, we have done that, and we are very happy to collaborate with the different African countries to actually do this. You do not have to start doing this afresh. That's the message. When we had but also in Kenya, what you don't have, come and get it from us. So that we do not have a lot of duplication. The African market is made for all of us. But at the same time, we can work in synergy. So I'm very happy to see what are those areas that you've identified from our talk currently that you think we can collaborate together. Do you have a natural therapeutic? Perhaps against mpox, Africa Cities Credit Committee Fund for validation for natural therapies. This was a launch. This launched our Biosuccess Park construction. This was done in February. And currently we have this progress. So this, the artistic impression that I showed you earlier, is not just about talking. We actually have it right here. I want to close by saying that as a country, but also as Africa, what can we do together so that we shall be able to advance our tradition or our natural therapeutics? Because now, in light of AMR, because we have one, in light of antimicrobial resistance, in light of COVID-19, it has demonstrated to us that we can actually rely on our